All right, so we're back here with a special episode of the Damage Done podcast. I say that because it's not like I don't believe it's going to be our typical like open-ended conversational format. With that being said, Michael Thompson, the subject of our two most popular episodes, the Aryan Brotherhood and Redemption, which I'm sure most of you know now is behind bars. And for those of you who are at this channel now and that don't know, Michael Thompson was said to be a former leader of a notorious prison gang. He spent 45 years behind bars and was paroled in mid-2019. And by the way, if you haven't seen those two episodes, you can check them out on our YouTube page or listen to it on any major podcasting platform. And tonight we have his wife, Ariel. Is that because I could say Ariel? And she's here to discuss what has put him behind bars, give some context to or a rebuttal as to what's been said in the news. So, hello, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming out.
Of course.
Sure.
And before you get started, I know we kind of touched on this. I just want to go over and read the accusations that are going on before you start even giving context. So these are the accusations that have put Michael behind bars again. And here's a list. Collecting more than $383,000 in fraudulent unemployment funds. It said that these funds were stolen from at least 16 different people, most of them who were homeless, living off of Social Security or disability payments. Through that, it was said that Michael would claim to counsel them, along with an accomplice, and apply for the unemployment benefits on behalf of the individuals. They'd take a fee. However, the information they entered was falsified to receive the max payout, and the individuals would never receive the money. Another piece of that is withholding money from, I guess, local companies, right, to the tune of up to $1.5 million from loans that were obtained from them claiming to operate a business that leased out heavy machinery or equipment to others. So essentially, to obtain the loans, he claimed the company was doing $1.5 million in revenue. And in the news article, it says in reality, the company made nothing. So those are the accusations. Mm-hmm. And the floor is yours.
Okay.
So I guess we were talking first, introduce who you are.
Okay.
Other than his wife.
Yes, other than his wife. I'm a mitigation specialist and social historian. People hear mitigation, they think litigation. I'm not an attorney.
Okay.
I work as a court-appointed expert witness on criminal cases, mostly death penalty cases, capital murder. So the court pays me to work for the attorneys to develop the research on their clients so that should they be convicted of murder and have to face a penalty phase of the trial, then somebody is able to put on witnesses and present a case for something less than death.
Okay.
So that's on a trial level. I also do appeals so that I do the same kind of work, but then I make a report. And the report is like a couple hundred pages long. It's not just a couple pages.
Sure.
And I also work on youth offender reports, which is the same thing, except I focus on the youthfulness of the offender and their family history, any kind of mental things, any kind of gender or racial or economic issues that have to do with, how they came up in the world.
Sure.
So that's my background. Anyway, in about 2005, I met Michael because he was a potential witness to one of my clients. My client at the time was a person who was an active member of the Aryan Brotherhood. And he was potentially being charged with the Ricoh statute. And so he hired me as his mitigation specialist, and he sent me on a mission to find other ex-AB dropouts and question them.
Okay.
So I wrote all these letters to all these people, and nobody said they would see me except for Michael. So I was not getting along very well with my client. He was drunk most of the time, and he wouldn't let me do my job. I don't know if you know, but you probably know that a lot of these kind of tough guys, they don't like to admit that they have any weaknesses or vulnerabilities, and they don't even like anything brought up about the hardships that they face as children. It just makes them look weak or something.
Sure.
So we had many arguments. So anyway, we didn't get along. I was about to quit, but I said, I'll do this one thing. So I went out to meet Michael. So I met him, and I was shocked. I mean, I was so impressed with him, his intelligence, his humility, and his spirituality. I just wasn't expecting that at all. I'd read trial transcripts of his testimony. I read about him, his reputation. I didn't expect what I found.
What were you expecting?
I was expecting some real tough guy, you know, somebody who had an energy of a kind of a brute, I guess. And instead, he was just this really calm, gentle person, and very humble. I did not expect that at all. And we actually had such a great conversation about things that I usually even can't talk to other people about.
Sure.
So I was just confused.
So because it seems that you had an immediate connection with him.
Oh, yeah.
Much more than a professional level?
Yeah, because after about, so I was sent to get him to recant his testimony against the brand.
And is this case you're talking about, is that the current Ricoh case that's currently going on with them?
Is there a current Ricoh case?
So yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to talk. When you brought that up, what came to mind was it said there, and I really want to know this, that there's a current Ricoh case going on against them.
Against the brand?
Against a few of like some, I guess, main members, someone in a few people in the brand. But the point of what I'm saying is that there's 3 of them currently housed in the same jail that Michael's in right now, and yeah. And that was that in Sacramento.
That's not a coincidence.
So that's what I wanted to bring up to you. 1, did you know that?
No.
2, now that you know that, because I mean, I guess this is already going to answer 2, because I was going to say, does Michael fear for his life? If you said yes, you know that. But I guess you talked to him. He hasn't communicated that to you.
He hasn't said that, but Michael is very protective of my mental health.
Sure.
So that if he's experiencing any type of that kind of fear,
you won't know about it.
He wouldn't pass that information along to you to worry you.
No, exactly, because I can't do anything about it.
Yeah, well, my apologies to worry you, but that's
all right.
It's the reality of the situation.
So
sure.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a major thing too. It probably gives context to maybe what was going on with what he's currently in jail for, because that's a risk to take going back to prison, because he's definitely a marked man. Correct?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's for the people who like Michael are the ones that he's helped.
Sure.
And the people who have met him and interacted with him. I mean, it's hard not to like him. He's nice.
No, he's very nice. I like Michael.
Yeah. I mean, so the haters, but he has a lot of haters. And I'll tell you why. Because he's not loyal to anybody. You know, when he was in the brand, he was loyal to the brand until they did things he didn't want them to do.
Sure.
So he dropped out. Then he dropped out, and then all of a sudden he was the star witness for these attorneys that wanted to prosecute people. But he famously didn't go along with that if he didn't think that it was the truth. He got some very strong, high-powered enemies out of attorneys who wanted him to lie and say things about criminals that he knew wasn't correct, so he wouldn't say that.
Sure.
So then attorneys hated him. And then when he was incarcerated, you know, there was a case in which a sheriff wanted him to go in on this scheme to take stolen cars to Mexico and sell them. And he was insulted, like, just because I'm a criminal, you expect me to do this?
Sure.
So he turned him in. So he was an enemy of, of
those people
the
as
sheriffs. Well. And then when he went to the CDCR, he's smart, so he was doing all kinds of work for the various captains and lieutenants and everything. But then he found out that a black kid had been killed deliberately. He told on them. So it's, in every case, Michael is consistent about one thing.
Being disloyal.
He's not going to maintain a loyalty to any group.
Yeah.
He's going to do what he thinks is right, which makes him an enemy to just about every group.
Sure.
Well, and I feel like that's also why his story was so compelling. On the other, with these allegations that are now, are stemming and tying him in with his accomplice, or with Eric Hutchins, I believe is the other guy.
That doesn't fit.
But everybody, everybody loves an underdog story. Everybody loves a redemption story. What people, dislike or hate more than anything is, rooting for a redemption story and then
being disappointed.
Being disappointed or feeling like they've been betrayed and look like a fool at the end of the day.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of people. We've gotten lots of emails, lots of DMs. There's lots of comments back on the YouTube. And, I feel for some of the people. And again, I want him to be 100% innocent. But one of the main reasons we're doing this is to be as objective about it as possible.
Of course.
And there's always going to be two sides. And what we do here, the interpretation is up for the audience to say what's true. We're not taking any stance other than talking about things. But a lot of people were like, I believed in Mike, I believed in his message, and they're like broken. And I think that's why it's also, well, it wasn't just like, oh, this is gonna get attention, but there's some people that feel like broken over it. They like looked at his like redemption story and like, I bought into his message, and now they feel like it's just false.
And that's besides the fact that he's in jail for something he didn't do.
Yeah,
it's really the ruination of all of our hopes and dreams.
Of course,
for Live, Learn, and Prosper, which we've been working on for years and years.
Of course,
hoping for the day that he'd get out and we'd be able to teach the curriculum together, start groups, and all the things that we had dreams of. That's like messed up.
Of course it is, and I know there's many things we want to touch on in the condensed time.
Sure.
But even just touching on one of the last points I was making, and you just touched on, what happened? Because these people want to know what happened, not just the haters, the people that really are championing him. And, and there's a lot more that we've spoke about, even in our just brief one conversation on the phone that you told me. So let's hear what happened from your perspective.
Yeah. Well, let's see, when did it start? Well, before Michael was released on parole, in those last months, maybe 6 months or so, he became friendly with a man named Eric Hutchins. By that time, Michael was on a level 2 prison level, so it wasn't a lot of rough characters. And, you know, Eric was like this clean-cut country boy, very personable, and Michael is used to kind of like pretty tough guys. And he liked Eric right away because Eric came across as a, you know, country boy, clean-cut, and came from a family in Ukiah. As he said, his family owned the biggest construction company in Ukiah. He'd been building since he was 12, knew how to run all kinds of machinery. He told him he was a firefighter with 20 years of experience as a firefighter. He spent his life hunting and fishing and all kinds of things that made Michael go, yeah, you know, you're kind of my kind of guy.
Sure.
And in prison, you're not surrounded by those kind of people generally. They're mostly people from the city. And I don't know if you know Michael that well, but he's not a city boy.
No.
He grew up on a horse ranch.
What were the original charges for Eric being in prison?
Oh, the original, well, apparently, this is what I heard, was that they had caught him dealing marijuana across state lines. This was before marijuana was legal.
Sure.
But he was going further than just that. He was actually shipping it into other states. So he got caught. Well, he didn't get caught. Somebody he shipped it to got caught. She turned on Eric, and then the feds apparently had a case on him, and they were watching him for a long time. They, for years, worked on his case, and then they busted him. Unfortunately, they had surveillance on him that wasn't court permitted. So as a fruit of the poison tree, they lost their case. So I think in desperation, they charged him with something else, which they found out, which is fraud against his grandmother.
Yeah, because I was reading that it was some sort of fraud connected to him for being in prison the first time.
Well, yes. So they charged him with that, and he got 2 years for fraud. And this was fraud against his family's estate, the Williams Trust, which is an actual thing. And then they are rich. And his grandmother was the director of the trust. And that trust goes from the grandmother to the firstborn son, which is Eric's dad, and then to Eric. So he apparently thought, well, it's my trust, you know, so I can take this money. But he actually took the money without permission. And actually, there are other members of that trust. So he actually stole from those other members of the trust who didn't give him permission.
Got it.
So I think it's a valid thing. But the way he explained it to us was that, you know, his grandmother had no problem with it. And that was his money.
Right.
So anyway, that's what he was incarcerated for.
Fraud.
But his, you know, his whole presentation of himself to Michael was very positive. And Michael believed everything he said.
So they took a liking to each other.
They took a liking to each other. I mean, he even said, now I'm not going to get into this now. I think it's just going to butt into the narrative, but most of what he said is untrue. But some of
so
what
he's a liar.
Yes. But you see, this is how cons work. You tell one truth, and then you surround it with lies, and you can't, if you bought the truth, and because that's the truth, then the rest of the stuff you are more likely to swallow.
Of course.
So
I understand that for sure.
Yeah. So that's basically what happened. And another way the con works is that based on your trust of the person who trusted the person, you get other people to trust them. So then at first, Michael and Eric were like best buddies. He couldn't talk about anything else but Eric. And, when he has this construction.
This is why he's still incarcerated? He's talking to you about this, or is this when he's out? He's saying these things about Eric as he's still
while he was still incarcerated.
While he was still incarcerated.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And I was going, well, in a way, I was happy he had a friend because he doesn't make friends in prison. And, Eric sounded like, if this is all true, this is amazing. This is a great guy. He has so much in common with you and everything. But it was he was just a little bit too enthusiastic about Eric. And, I didn't know Eric, but I trusted Sky.
Yeah.
So, okay, if you say he's really all this.
Then it's
that's
okay
how
with
cons
you.
work, though.
So now at this point, we have the picture painted. They became close in there.
Yes.
Right. So now we're fast forwarding. He's out of prison. He's been out since 2019.
So before Eric got out of prison, Michael asked me to help Eric set up a construction business.
Got it.
Of his own in Ukiah, of which he would be, a partner when he got paroled. And he was coming up for a parole hearing, and, we felt fairly good about it. And Eric was definitely getting out, and he was paroling to Ukiah, where his family lived, and they were wealthy. And, he had this beautiful home that he had, quote unquote, built with his own hands, showed me photographs, all that. And so my job was to set up everything financially. Because of his fraud conviction, Eric was not able to even bank.
So everything was set up under your name?
Under my name.
Why couldn't Eric just go to his family members?
That's exactly right.
Set this up? Why did you get looped in to do that?
But Eric said that when he got out, his father was going to, and grandmother were going to contribute $500,000 in seed money to fund the company.
What was your seed money?
$100,000.
So you invested $100,000.
Yes.
And what was the name of this business?
Man Ranch.
Man Ranch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that was named after their own property, the family property, Man Ranch. So it was Man Ranch Incorporated. It was supposed to do construction. And so I picked Eric up at prison. I mean, when the prison bus came, I picked him up. I drove him up to Ukiah to report to parole. As soon as we did that, Eric found out that he'd been barred from Ukiah. He could not parole to Ukiah. He had to go to Lake County. So it's like, whoa, so we went to Lake County. Go ahead.
That's why you guys all went to Lake County.
Yeah.
Because of Eric. So you guys made a move there as well.
Well, you're getting ahead, though.
Sure.
So we went to Lake County. We stayed at a motel. While I'm going, well, what are we going to do next? So meanwhile, I'm thinking, well, it's not working out so well because he's not in Ukiah where his family is. But I figured that the family would step up. They're rich. They promised $500,000 seed money. They have a construction company. This is going to work. So I went around doing what Eric asked me to do. I established a bank account at Wells Fargo for Man Ranch. And I signed as guarantor for all this heavy equipment he said he needed, that I don't even know what they are, but like a water truck, a skid steer, whatever the heck that is, truck and all these things. And I kind of wondered, why are they accepting me as a guarantor? Because I'm not rich, but they did, and so I signed all these contracts. And
well, it's like a lease. You lease that, right?
Yeah, he's supposed to pay.
It's like a lease.
Right. I mean, they're the lien holders and everything.
Sure. Did that company ever make money? Did you see, if you were in charge of the finances?
Let me tell a story because I can answer that, but let me just take it in sequence. Okay. Otherwise, I'll get confused.
Okay.
So we did all the paperwork to get it all started. I rented Eric an apartment. I even paid for a car for his sister, and all of this was like, I'll pay you back.
So he's making a lot of promises to you.
Yes.
A lot of promises. And you're doing all the work, putting up all the money.
Putting up all the money and the credit and everything. So I'm not a fool, so I got a contract. And, you know, I got a contract in writing that says that as collateral for the money I loaned Eric to start the business, he was guaranteeing me my money back and a certain percentage, which I can't even remember now because I saw nothing. But and he put up as collateral a home he owned in not in Ukiah, in Redwood Valley, right next to Ukiah. And I looked it up, and you know there was a home, and you know it was worth like $650,000.
You looked it up like you saw the deed? You saw
I
a
did
title?
not see the title deed, but I saw that he owned it and it existed and all of that. So, you know, no, I didn't do that kind of research. It was stupid, but I didn't know to do it. I thought that...
You trusted him.
Yeah,
so you
I
didn't think
did.
you
I mean,
needed
bottom
to.
line is if I thought even for a minute that I was going to get conned, I wouldn't have even gone there. So I saw the house. I saw that he owned it. I didn't know that he had liens on that house. I didn't know that, in fact, he didn't really own the house because he owed his mother and his mother's husband $600,000. And he hadn't paid taxes. So he owed the government. So that piece of paper was worth nothing.
Yes, clearly.
So this is why I say it's fraud. Because... you know, you invest in a business, like you open a restaurant with somebody and they're incompetent to manage it and the restaurant goes broke and you're out your money. Well, that's really not that person's. You took a chance and you lost your money.
Yes.
That's not fraud.
That's a risk.
Yeah, that's just a risk, business risk. But what I'm saying is that it's fraud because he put up as collateral something he didn't own and he knew there was no money to pay me back.
I don't disagree, but one could also argue that you didn't do the correct due diligence around it as well.
Right, I did not.
So it's like, you know,
but it's like buyer beware, yes, but that still doesn't excuse
I'm not
fraud.
excusing his behavior or what he did, but I'm also saying that there's a part, we all have a part in almost anything.
Exactly.
And the part is taking somebody that
their word for
that was a convicted
fraudster.
felon for fraud
yes.
and taking his word at face value.
Right.
One thing that I would like to ask is what's hard for me to wrap my head around, because when I met with Mike, I connected with him. We have a friendship. He's very, very polished. He's very, very eloquent in the way that he speaks. He's very, very smart. One thing that he said with me that stuck with me is like his number one thing is always controlling his environment,
especially in prison.
Especially in prison. So
yes.
how? Either he had a lack of judgment, or like how is it that if he controls his environment, how does he get into bed with a character like this?
Okay, remember that he's 45 years in a controlled environment. He knows prison. And that's something that I think we are aware of that are trying to help lifers and other people getting out, that we understand the problems that people have getting out after long-term, especially long-term incarcerations, because he's acculturated to a prison environment.
Of course.
He's not acculturated to this environment where anything can happen. He's faced with multiple different kinds of possibilities and personalities. He's very good at protecting himself and defending himself physically, but he's like, I've always called him a sheep in wolf's clothing, because underneath that wolf demeanor, he's really naive. And we've had many fights about this since the whole Eric debacle, because like I said, you know, like, how can you have been conned so bad? But you know what? Smart people can be conned.
I understand, and I get what you're. I get what you're saying, and I understand starting the nonprofit Live, Learn, and Prosper, and doing that work and outreach on the outside, but inviting that into your own home. I mean, look at where we're at now.
Okay, well, he was completely convinced of Eric's authenticity, and otherwise, I mean, I confronted him about that. I says, I didn't think there was any risk. If I thought there was any risk to you, I would never have done it. And I believe that, of course. I mean, my money is his money. He has no money.
Right.
So if I'm conned out of all my life savings, he's conned out of my.
So before these fraud allegations occurred, was the business producing money?
No. Okay. Let me go back to the narrative. So then, after I established all of this credit and everything for Eric, right? I left. I was there for about 2 months. And I left. And I went down to L.A. because he had been paroled. And Michael was doing his transitional housing time in L.A. And he needed me to support him because it was freaky to come into freedom after 45
I'm sure.
years.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. So, and it was he was suffering from PTSD, just the noise alone and the stimulation, the stimuli and all the people. I mean, to parole to LA after 45 years is very harsh.
Not an easy feat.
Of course.
So I went down there to offer support, and I didn't, because I can work. I'm a consultant, so I can do my work from anywhere. I was there, took my computer, and I did my work. And so pretty much every day I saw him. But he had to do the 6 months. So meanwhile, Eric was in Lakeport doing whatever he was doing, And by the way, he signed a contract with Sky, Michael, to pay him as a consultant quite a bit of money, to work in the business.
Michael's going to be the consultant, or he's consulting for Michael?
Mike would be the consultant. Sky would be the consultant for Eric.
For Eric.
So you would just 1099 him as a consultant.
Yes, exactly.
Got it.
Exactly. And, for his services, basically, because he was going to be involved in the business. And Michael is very good with, everything organizational. You would not think that kind of a man would be good at, like, paperwork and accounting and all that. But he's great because he's very responsible. And he has, he'll keep abreast of what needs to be done and stuff like that. And whereas Eric was not. So he had a place, and he was very excited to be able to have a role in the company. At that point, neither of us knew anything that this was a con. But while we were there in LA waiting for the 6 months to be over, the thing that started to happen was I was getting phone calls from creditors saying, "Where's our money? You didn't make a payment." From Caterpillar, from this company, that company, American Express. And I said, "Where's even American Express coming from? Home Depot?" I'm going, wait. So I said to Sky, "What's going on?" He said, "Oh, don't worry. Eric will handle. He's probably having a rough time just getting out, and he's got some emotional things going on, but he'll be okay." So I'm thinking, I don't like these phone calls. I'm getting really worried.
Do you feel that's a normal reaction, though? If you're putting your life savings, your and your husband's life savings, that's a normal reaction from Mike?
Yes. For him to have that kind of, oh yeah. I mean, this is one of the things we've always fought about. He's so calm. No matter what is going on, I always joke like, okay, if we were the last two people at the Alamo and thousands of whatever were coming down on us, you'd still tell me the same damn thing, which is, "Don't worry, baby, it'll be okay."
But he also has a side of him, just from me meeting him, and I obviously don't know him as well as you, as long as you, but he has a side of me that, like, you don't want to cross him either. Like, yes, he's done all this work, and he's eloquent, and he's nice, and he's soft, but there's also a part of him, I'm sure, that I could sense from his energy that's like, this isn't a dude that I would want to, like, fuck over, pardon my language, and especially out of the life savings of him and his wife.
Right. Well, this is one of the fights that we had, and believe me, our relationship got very rocky because of Eric. And, I would just pitch a fit. My credit was so bad, even the Gap wouldn't let me have a credit card. I mean, that's a joke, but it's true. I couldn't even get a Gap credit card. I mean, I had no money, I had no credit, and I was facing bankruptcy. So we'd have a fight, and he'd say, "What do you want me to do, kill him?" And I said, "Well, no." "But why aren't you more angry?" And he says, "I am angry." I said, "I can't see it." He says, "You can't see it because I can't afford to let it get to that point. Because if I let it get to that point, I will kill him."
So when he's admitting that, is he admitting that he knows you guys are being conned and scammed? Because that's what I'm picking up right now. Is I know you're telling the details.
Well, he knew that I suddenly didn't have my life savings.
Yeah, well, for sure
but
he knew
that.
But
the other stuff, no.
Got it.
No, I mean, this is stuff. That's why I wanted to say the narrative, kind of in as like how it happened. Because like, if I knew all the things that I'm going, I could tell you about what we know about Eric now. You'd say, "Well, why the F?"
Yeah, we can get into a different time, but like concisely, like where we're starting right now, it seems that we're at the investment part. How you got, let's call it, you got bamboozled into.
But we didn't know it.
I know. This is the postmortem. Like,
right,
you didn't know you were being bamboozled. You were bamboozled, past tense, for sure, right?
Right. And
so
we're dealing with the aftermath of this massive failure.
So you're saying, because we initially got here by asking the question, responding to the people that feel hurt. So the short answer to what I'm receiving right now is you guys, it started off by you guys being conned, not him doing the con. That's your official stance? Like, he wasn't, Michael is being pinned and painted as the con man right now. And you're trying to, and what the picture that it seems you're painting right now is that you guys were conned, and this is what has led him to being behind bars right now. It was part of this man Eric's con.
Yes. And the thing is, it's not like law enforcement doesn't know this, because in, let's see, December of last year, you know, it got so bad that Eric was starting to ship marijuana out of state again, which of course is illegal, and it's part of his parole conditions, right?
Sure.
And so he actually traveled out of town, and he, you know, came back with money, which he deposited in the ATM, and we didn't see it. This didn't go into Man Ranch. Nothing went into Man Ranch. It went into his pocket. So once I heard this, I said, we gotta alert the authorities. You know, otherwise we're going to be involved in this. We know he's doing this.
And Michael's initial crime was marijuana related, let's call it, too. So that's a bad look, no?
Mm-mm. He is accused of, has been convicted of murdering 2 drug dealers.
Yeah, I thought it had to do with marijuana. But he was not a part of that. No, I know. I said his initial crime he was accused for. I didn't say, I'm not sitting here saying he's guilty.
No, he wasn't actually accused of marijuana. He was
no, I know he wasn't. Murder. I know. The murder of the marijuana traffickers. So it's just back in the same world as what I'm trying to say.
Right, I guess you're right.
Yeah, yes. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yes.
And this Man Ranch thing, is that when they're talking about in the article the $1.5 million in revenue that the business was doing, that's Man Ranch?
Yes.
Okay, so that's where we're at right now. So we're pretty much covering the fraudulent behavior of this man Eric and how you guys have gone swallowed up to it. That's where we're at.
Right. I mean it's it's really bad, because not only did I lose $100,000, but because Michael trusted Eric.
Yeah.
He got other people to invest.
Sure.
That money disappeared.
That makes sense. I'm sure he made off like a bandit, literally, because he is a bandit.
He made off with a lot of money.
But this is also that, like, for me, and again, I take this with a grain of salt, because I'm just speaking my mind here.
Sure.
But like I've done my fair share of stuff, as has Michael and clearly Eric and all of them. But like, there's always a motto. Like, when you get involved in and I'm not saying that he knew that it was illegal or fraud what was going on, but like, it's trust but verify. Where was the verification?
He didn't verify, and it was many.
So just being complicit to everything going on. Complicit in the sense of like, oh, like the bills are late, there's no money coming in, we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt, he's just adjusting to...
Okay, so let me just pick it up, though, because once Michael finishes 6 months, and we knew that something was going terribly wrong, we went up to Lakeport.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the plan anyway, that Michael would join the business, and that's why he was being paid as a consultant. He never got that, but he had a contract that said he would. And we went up to Lakeport to see, you know, like, what the F. So we went up there, and so the first thing we did was we started to try to just look at the books, you know, like, what are the bills, what got paid, what money.
Sure.
It was just in shambles. I mean, there was no accounting being kept.
Well, of course not. You're getting calls for not paying any bills. Nothing, no money is coming in for an extended period of time. Right. So I can't imagine that the books are going to be in order.
No, there's no books.
There's no books. It doesn't exist.
No. And so what we did was, there's a storage facility that's associated with a business office. So we went into the storage facility, and we found boxes that were dirt and dust covered that had important documents about the incorporation of Man Ranch.
Sure.
Bills that were opened, bills that were not opened, just in boxes. Not nice boxes.
No, they're just tossed in there. I get it. It's a junk drawer. It's a junk drawer.
And I just freaked out.
Yeah, it's your life savings on the line.
And like that. And so he said, "Don't worry about it. We're going to get to the bottom of it." I mean, I love that about Michael, but it's also his downfall.
Clearly.
So he says, "Oh, we'll get to the bottom, and we'll fix this and all that." So he gets all the bills and everything, and he's working on it for a while. But then he tells me that I am $880,000 in debt. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And actually, he said, "Oh, and that's actually not counting the American Express bill." And
who said this? Eric?
No,
Michael.
Michael. He's adding up all the
Got it.
late payments.
Did you guys see Eric after this point too, like in person?
Oh yes.
And how did Mike not put the hands on him at some point?
Exactly.
Like slap him around, sit him down, and say,
well,
"Look,
like I said,
I want answers here."
Yeah, but that's what's fishy to me. And this is what we're gonna get. I know. I'm telling you. I'm not saying it is fishy. So when I'm saying things like it is fishy, I'm not saying that's the be all end all. But that's wild.
I get it.
Yeah.
Because you're saying what I said to him, like, what?
I would hope so.
You know, like, and when I would complain, he said, "What do you want me to do? Kill him?"
Yeah.
Because that's the only other.
No, but there's a way to get a strong message across with getting the answer without putting someone 6 feet under.
This is what he decided to do. It's not what I would have done. Short of killing him, I would have done something.
Fair.
But he said, "Look, I think I can salvage the business. You know, we have late payments, yes, but it's not unsalvageable. Let me talk to our creditors and work something out." So he called Caterpillar, he called all these various people to give us time to pay, and then for 1 year he worked for free, no pay. He just worked every day. He woke up at 4:30 in the morning. He's almost 70 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He put on his boots and his hat, and he went out there and dug holes and things, so that the work could be done and the money would come in and he could pay bills.
Sure.
Occasionally he was able to do that, but not for long, because Eric didn't give any of the money for these jobs to Man Ranch. He just spent it.
Yeah, whatever he did with it, he did with it.
Whatever he did. So the money was if the money was given, it was spent on materials and labor, except for Michael's labor, and then the rest went into Eric's pocket, and the bills were still not getting paid. So meanwhile, I'm getting more and more furious and saying, like, don't you see this is never going to work? But I think it's like his male stubbornness.
Sure.
Like he was just like, I did this to you, I'm going to fix it.
So I think we've painted an accurate picture of how you guys got roped in to Eric and what Man Ranch was and where those $1.5 million of loans came from. But we haven't touched on, where does the $383,000 of EDD money come from? How does Michael get roped into that?
We don't even know, because we had nothing to do with the EDD. It wasn't even on our radar. When Eric was arrested, I figured he was going to finally be arrested for marijuana. But no, it wasn't that at all. It was this EDD fraud thing. Now, we were getting EDD payments ourselves.
Yeah.
But as far as all this other stuff, we didn't know what Eric was doing. Everything came out after, we started talking, because one thing that happened before Eric was arrested, this is why Eric got arrested. The manager of the building where Man Ranch had the office, her daughter is a drug addict.
Yeah.
And Eric signed her up for EDD, and got the card, I guess, in the mail, and took out money and handed her some money. But this girl was smart enough to know that she wasn't getting it all.
Mm-hmm.
So she complained to her mother, and both she and her mother confronted Eric about it. And they even confronted, Sky about it and said, "What about this?" And Sky said, "Don't look at me.
Yeah.
I have nothing to do with it. Talk to Eric," because Eric handled the money.
Sure.
So anyway, this is the first time we heard about any complaints about that. And Bonnie said, "I'm going to go to the police." And Michael said, "Go to the police."
So he wanted him to go to the police
about
the
go
EDD
to the
stuff.
Police. And so she did, I guess. But meanwhile, the extent of his EDD fraud thing, we weren't even aware. We're blindsided by it.
Yeah, it's a lot to, I don't know, to feel like, to be taken advantage of. I'm sure that you guys have a bunch of feelings.
Not only that, but to be blamed for it.
Well,
right.
definitely.
But I have one quick question. What address was the ranch associated with?
Man Ranch?
Yeah.
Whatever that Main Street, I guess.
And what about Live, Learn, and Prosper?
Live, Learn, and Prosper. When Man Ranch was just not doing anything, he transferred the address to the same place and paid the rent for it for Live, Learn, and Prosper. But we couldn't really handle that rent payment for long, so finally we just closed up shop. But Live, Learn, and Prosper really did not exist as a physical entity, like a brick and mortar entity. It was a website and the curriculum that we're developing. We didn't get very far with it because he was still incarcerated and I was doing my mitigation work.
The reason why I asked was because there's allegations online saying that 16 of the EDD cards were sent to the business address.
Yeah, I'm sure it was, because I think Eric was very smart about not sending it to his personal address.
He wasn't that smart to send all 16 cards to one address, though.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not very smart at all.
No, not smart at all. So you're sitting here and you're I truly believe that you're blindsided by this, but 16 people, the way so you're saying the day he was arrested is the day you found out that there was 16 people that were defrauded?
Well,
or did you know about that? Because I know you've talked about the one heroin addict or drug addict daughter or whatever. I know you know about that, but 15 other random individuals that were quote unquote being counseled.
Well, that's a different thing. But as far as the 16 people, until he was arrested and charged, he saw all the names, he didn't know.
He had no idea.
That's the first time. No, he said, I know a few people on that list. That's it. The rest, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the reports even say that max cash was being pulled out every day at the ATM, 1,000 on each account.
And that's the scary part. It's like, I truly believe, there's a reality where you could have been kept in the dark about this. Is this fair to say?
Well, then where's the money?
I don't know I can't answer where the money is, but let's say there's a reality where he's litigating this in court or whatever. Because you said it, by the way, he's going pro per. He's representing himself. Is that correct? That what if during discovery there's video of him going to the ATM pulling out cash?
There's never going to be that.
No, I'm just saying, what if?
What if what?
Yeah, no, what if that happens? That changes everything from your perspective, Craig, and that's what I'm concerned about.
Right.
I don't want that to happen.
Right.
I'm not sitting here saying I want that to happen.
I mean, Michael's been to ATM pulling out cash from our account.
Fair, I'm sure.
But not from anybody else's account.
I believe that. I'm just saying there's that who was pulling out this money? Because they search. I mean, and I'm not saying the Sacramento Bee's the be all end all, but they are the main source of the information that other people are pulling it from.
They're just reporting.
I know they're implying that he was doing that though.
Right, but they got that. They're just reporters.
Fair.
They are reporting what they've been told by the sheriffs.
So the sheriffs seem to be spinning that story that he's doing that because if I read the article, and look, we're sitting here, we have more information than he's gonna have, or the people that are across the world reading this type of stuff. So when they read it, what they're internalizing is Michael went and preyed on homeless people, homeless vets, basically, essentially.
And use a nonprofit as a vehicle.
Yeah, like, hey man, I'm gonna help you get some money, and then he's the one that's going into the ATMs and pulling out the cash because the focus of the article is Michael. There's some mention of Eric.
Yeah, almost nothing at all about Eric.
Sure.
Yeah, but I can't. I certainly hope that none of these people that he doesn't even know are going to finger him because he had nothing to do with those people.
Well, and this is just an assumption. I know COVID happened, but I mean, what's kind of going on in my mind is the business was so much in debt. The only way to get out of it is to take those PPP or EDIDL loans, whatever it was, to salvage the business, to pay the creditors.
But that didn't happen.
No,
I understand that it didn't happen, but I'm saying the intention behind it maybe was how else are you going to get out of $800,000-$900,000 worth of debt?
You can't.
Not
well, I mean, the COVID pandemic comes and people are committing fraud left and right.
Right.
And $1.5 million is on paper saying that was defrauded and taken for the business. I'm just saying it's just kind of something that was kicking around in my head while we were talking is a ploy or attempt to get the business into the green. Does that make sense?
No, because Eric never did care about the business. He didn't do any work. He did very little work. That's the thing. The machinery, everything was just sitting there.
No, I believe that. And we're talking about like Michael's part in it because again, as we're sitting here, we're not. This is not. And I've told you
I'm
this.
not mad
And
at you.
I know I don't
just-
think you are,
yeah.
but it goes. We could say it on camera as well. We're not sitting here as a got you thing, but this is some real stuff because again, we didn't just have like 500 people watch this. Not like 2 people just messaged us talking about like how much it's like impacted their lives in a positive way, how much hope. Like this is actually affecting people. It's making news.
Yeah,
like
I mean, it was over combined too. It was like over 700,000 views.
More
and
more than that. So it's important to explain that, one for our show, but one for the objectivity of this, because under this line of questioning, whether they try to rope you in and get involved, I'm not a detective, nor am I Barbara Walters, as you could see. Like I'm not a journalist. This is not what I do. I have conversations.
Right.
I do this with my friends. I don't think I'm coming at you like crossfire here.
No.
So I would hope that these questions would be able to hold up under this type of questioning. That's the only place I'm coming from, and I think it's the responsible thing to do at this point in time. And that being said, one of the more difficult things I want to ask that threw me for a loop again. I want Mike to be innocent 100%. But I listed the major accusation. I'm not saying major charges. I mean, we're going to call them accusations right now because you're innocent until proven guilty, and don't forget that. And I think everyone deserves the benefit of the doubt regardless.
Due process
regardless.
Of law, sure.
And regardless, even if he is 100% guilty, I don't think he should die in prison over this.
Right.
You shouldn't die in prison over fraud. He definitely should pay for what he did if that is the case.
Yeah.
However, one of the things that really screwed me up, and it kind of ties back into what he's saying with like the levels of what's going on, is one of the accusations I left out in the introduction was the most minor detail in that article, which was saying that they both filed for fraudulent unemployment benefits under their name during a time where they were both incarcerated. So that was like, oh, if he's capable of doing that. No, I'm not saying. I'm saying
that
what it
didn't
said.
happen.
Again, according
allegedly,
it's alleged in that Sacramento Bee article. I'm just going to keep referencing that because all the other places are pulling from the main source.
They said that they applied for
they said
benefits.
They said they applied for unemployment benefits in their name during a time when they were incarcerated. So Thompson and Hutchins also allegedly filed for EDD benefits for themselves, and they say it in the article too. They're responsible journalists allegedly filed. Claiming,
that's not even possible.
I know, but this is what they said. Claiming income of $120,000 in 2019, despite the fact that both were in prison until midway through 2019. Authorities say. So that's what the authorities are reporting to the Sacramento Bee.
Okay, I'm a little lost here, but I think what you're saying is that they applied for unemployment benefits while they were still incarcerated.
Yeah, while they were still locked up.
Or during a time, and they were claiming that their income is $120,000 a year, but it's not possible for that to happen because they were in prison. No, obviously, no one in prison, as you know, makes $120,000. Maybe the warden, but not an inmate.
Okay, the only thing that makes a little sense here by what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you can't file for unemployment when you're in prison.
Well, but actually, I will say this. In California, there was about $11 billion of fraud filed over the California and EDD. What Brian over here was explaining to us, Scott Peterson, the famous murderer that killed his wife Lacey Peterson, he got burnt very hard for fraud, for EDD fraud, and a lot of inmates were doing this. California's not happy with this, and I'm sure Governor Newsom's not happy with this because
you can apply for it with on a cell phone.
But
like
if you're, I mean, that COVID benefits, I mean, that didn't happen until 2020.
It did. So let's
but
think.
There's still unemployment that you could get in the state of California.
Yeah, but think about it. It's March. So it's March. Say March 2020. Everything comes around. The stimulus comes about 2 weeks later, right? They're asking for what you made in the prior year of 2019.
Oh, okay.
That's what we're talking about.
I can address that.
Yeah.
So when he tried to apply for unemployment benefits for him, because he was working but he wasn't getting paid. So they said they wanted, tax returns, and he explained he's been incarcerated. He doesn't have tax returns.
Sure.
So he was questioning, the officials like that, and he says, only thing I can provide you with is a contract for my services for what I was supposed to get paid.
Yes.
Basically, signed by Eric.
Yes.
So that is what Eric signed to entice Mike to work, and for me to invest my money. So he said, "Can I submit that?"
Of course.
They said yes, you can submit that. So he did.
I totally get that, but my point that I'm making right now is someone that wants him to be innocent can put these pieces together and say, oh shit. So if he's able to falsify this, whether in this article is without context that you just gave, mind you, but the majority of the people have this information without context.
Well, the way they spun it, it sounds like fraud.
Sure, it does sound like fraud. So if he's capable,
he asked the official that whoever he talked to, can I submit this?
No,
and they said yeah.
I agree, and I'm not debating that. I'm not even saying that's the issue. What I'm saying, the connection I'm making as someone that wants him to be innocent. Imagine with the people that fucking hate him.
Sure.
So if he's capable of doing something low down here, right? He's very capable of doing 1 person, 2 person, 3 person, 16 people, 1.5 million, and it could be something. It could come. They could paint the picture. He's desperate. Why? Because you guys are underwater $900,000. That's the narrative that's being painted. I'm not saying it's my narrative. It's just out there. This is, people are talking. As you know, people talk about your husband. We are talking about your husband. And it's again, this is not a hit piece, but this is discussing what's going on.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure that it's not really logical even to think that if they're gonna rob, these people, they're not gonna use it to pay off debt.
Sure, maybe not. Maybe that was the initial intention, though, right?
I mean, who knows? Yeah,
I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, well, Eric was not trying to pay off debt. So when we came here, to Lake Porta in February, debts were not being paid.
Of course.
On the other hand, though, when is it you just stop the bleeding and just say, that's it, we're done?
Exactly.
I mean, that's what a logical person at some point.
You would think so.
Would say after a couple of years, like, I'm done.
Well, it was, it wasn't a year. And he really thought he could do it. I didn't think he could, because the thing I kept pointing out is Eric does not want to succeed, Man Ranch to succeed. He doesn't care. So, if he cared, it's possible. Even with a debt like that, I think it's possible. Because there's lots of construction jobs in Lake County. They could have been working. But, my husband can dig a hole or whatever. He's very strong and he's got a work ethic, but he doesn't have the skills. So Eric has got to be the one to go around, get jobs, bid jobs, direct the work and so forth, and he wasn't interested. So I said, this is hopeless. This is not going to work.
Of course.
So, meanwhile, I had all the calls coming to me, all the debtors.
Yeah, your money and your name is on everything.
And on everything. And for the whole time that this was going on, Eric Hutchins never apologized to me once.
I wouldn't imagine why.
The guy's a piece of shit.
I wouldn't imagine why. Actions. If I just robbed him of $400K, $500K, the last thing I'm doing is apologizing to Shane. I'm bouncing and I'm taking everything. That's just what's going on.
Well,
it's the last thing I'm doing.
Like Sky always said, what do you want me to do, kill him?
Yeah.
And I said, well, I would like to see that you're at least angry. He says, I am angry. I just don't show it. And also, you don't want me to go there. That's something you've never seen in me, and I don't ever want you to see it.
Sure. So when you're talking to Mike on the inside right now, of course you guys talk. You've told me you've talked, but he's representing himself. So how is he coming at this? Is it the same way you're coming at it? Basically, like, I was 100% innocent. I have no culpability in anything that's occurred.
Not fraud.
Not fraud.
He's culpable of being naive and stupid.
Naive and stupid.
Stubborn.
Because there's a lot of things. Because again, people pointed out, like, how could Shane pointed out, how did you not trust and verify? How did you bring a man that's untrustworthy into the fold when you're living a trustworthy life? Like, how Mike is so in tune with people. You even mentioned to me you're in tune with people, which is why you even connected with Mike in the first place.
He's not in tune with people.
He might.
He's just so freaking innocent about people. I just drives me crazy. He was. Give you an example. He was catching the bus one time. And he was at the bus stop, and it was a Lexus, drove up, nice-looking man in an expensive suit, watch, everything, drove up, and he said to Michael, I don't know why he pointed Michael out, but he says, I have been robbed. My wallet's been taken. I'm from Iran or whatever, some country. And I have no money to get to San Francisco, and I need to get to San Francisco. I have my plane tickets, but I don't have any money. And can you give me some money? So to make a long story short, he gave him $100. He doesn't have $100 to give.
Yeah.
And I said, and then he said, the old lady in the car told the son in some kind of language, take that necklace off and give it to him. Not that he understood the language, but what happened. So the guy takes the necklace off, and Michael says, no, I don't need that. And she's, take it. So he took it, and thank you. And then he came home to me, and he told me the story, and I said, give me that necklace.
Yeah.
So I looked at it, and it's fake.
Mm.
To me, it's obviously fake, because if it's real gold, it would have been so heavy.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't.
And it was light.
It was light.
Yeah.
So I said, you've been conned of $100. I said, what made you do this?
Yeah.
He said, it's probably the old lady in the back seat. She was praying the Quran and, like this. And he felt sorry for her. And, you don't expect an old lady to be a part of a con. So he gave him $100. And I said, oh, my God. And really, my relationship with him since he's come out is just, I'm constantly nervous.
Yeah, it seems that
way.
way.
That he's going to be taken by somebody. And he is constantly. I mean, it's like he's talking to this guy who's in prison, who's the son of somebody he knows, and the father is really nice. The son is a drug addict. But the son is like, oh, I'm going straight and all that. And Michael's an AOD counselor. I mean, he's very sympathetic to addicts and anybody trying to turn their life around.
Of course.
So the guy's calling him at first I was okay about it, but then I noticed the guy's calling all the time at odd hours of the day and night, not respecting dinner or anything, and starting to ask him for money.
Yeah, so the point is he gets roped into people.
He gets roped into people.
Yes. And they prey on his emotions, is what you're saying.
Yes, and he's easily preyed upon emotionally.
Sure.
So I want to say this as well, because we've talked a lot about cons. The thing is with cons, and there's a lot of them that are thriving right now, you don't know it's a con until it unravels and you realize that you've been a part of it.
And of course...
How would you feel if this flipped on its head and this whole thing was revealed that it was a con and that he was involved?
If Michael was involved?
Yeah.
There's no way, even in 1% chance, that he was involved.
Well, here, this is essentially like the $1 million question here, and it was first posed on people that really effing hate Mike, and even the people that really hate Mike actually they say that they have a lot of sympathy for you. I believe you're good. Even the people that dislike Mike believe you're good. There's chatter.
They're thinking that I've been conned.
That the whole time, how do you know that he didn't con and finesse you during this whole exact situation? How do you know it? How?
Michael is really consistent. He's the most consistent person I've ever met. You can figure out why he does what he does, or doesn't do what he doesn't do. I mean, he's not a mystery. So, no. I mean, he would not hurt anybody who's vulnerable. I mean, he would possibly rip your guts out.
Yeah.
But
he's talked about that
conning some drug addict. I mean, that's
no, but
not
we're not talking about conning a drug addict. We're talking about this man. He met you when he thought he was never going to get out of prison. The story is, and I'm not saying this is true. I'm just bringing this to your attention. Right? Is that when he met you, the con started then?
Oh, I'm not that stupid.
But I'm not saying whether or not you are that stupid. But is there even a slight possibility that he could have conned at any point?
17 years.
But at any point in your relationship, let's say it didn't start there. Let's say it started when he got out, and it started with this: like, hey, my wife has money to spend, and guess what? She trusts me. Let's invest in this company and do this, because
and then lose it all?
because look, to me, as I'm saying, I know, but what also doesn't make sense is Mike is so effing smart. I sat across this table from him. I know you live with him.
He's effing smart too, but he's really stupid about some things.
But the crazy thing is, if he's so even concerned about not telling you that he's in the same jail as the three people that want him dead, just because he's worried about your well-being, you're $900,000 underwater. Your life savings is gone, and he's cool as a cucumber. That's fucking crazy. Excuse my language. To me, that's I said that's fucking crazy in my estimation. And I want, again, and I'm gonna keep saying this, and I don't care who keeps talking shit about me. Keep saying it, but like, I want him to be innocent. I
understand that. You don't have to keep saying that.
I know I don't, but I feel like I do, because it's just it blows my mind. I know him. And Shane brought this up. We talked about this on the way here. He is in tune to his environment to the point where he survived being a marked man for 30-something years. You know what's going on with human beings and their behavior.
But not
and then all of a sudden, not this. That's where I lose it. Of
can
course.
we talk about cons? Because
we can talk about cons, but do you see where I'm coming from? Because I'm not only am I coming from this place, there's people out there coming from this place, and I don't think it's a stretch to say that law enforcement's coming from this place.
No, law enforcement is not coming from a place of objective research, because if they were, they wouldn't be going there. I mean, the finger points to Eric all the way. Eric has defrauded his own mother.
Yeah.
Eric has defrauded his grandmother. Eric defrauded that woman that I just told you about. I mean, people know him in the community.
No, I believe it, and I know what I know now from you. So if we were to summarize Michael's situation, right, and if I were to summarize it back,
he's guilty of being stupid.
He's guilty of being stupid, and he actually did not defraud 16 people.
No.
He did not take out false loans.
No.
And none of that happened. So all he did was not be stupid and not get angry enough.
I took out the loans.
Yeah. We're not here to
take out loans.
Well, we know that, but you guys are married. So you guys took out loans. You know what I mean?
No.
Because if
there
it wasn't
an understanding,
yes,
you took out the loan because Mike was like, we're going to do
that's
this.
what I'm saying. So you're guilty of bad business, guilty of being stupid, and that's the firm line, and that's what Michael's going to argue for, because his life's on the line right now inside prison, inside jail, inside
he's
prison.
He's going to argue the facts.
Yes, but even if I'm sitting here trying to pull this in there, do you think that based on even what I'm telling you right now, like what other people are saying or thoughts that have come up and feelings that have come up for me, that's going to hold weight based on any of this? Like, do you think what he's about to argue, like these facts that you're talking about, do you think that are enough to hold weight to prove his innocence?
Yeah.
You don't think that because they arrested him? Because one thing that you didn't touch on that you told me is the prosecutors is a political thing. They have a hard-on for screwing over Mike. So you said Mike's in the situation because Eric wanted the heat off of him. We didn't even talk about that.
Oh, well, that's pretty common, though. That's not
surprising. Of course. But specifically in this situation, you believe that's one of the main reasons why Mike's in jail is because this guy wanted less time. He wanted to give up some information, so he threw someone under the bus?
Yeah, that's expected. And that's what I warned Sky about. I said, Eric's not a man of honor. All this bullshit he's doing is going to come back on you, and they're going to blame you because you're smarter, you're a leader. It's all going to come back on you.
You were saying this after Eric got arrested?
No.
Oh.
Oh, no, before. That's why... we talked about it, and we decided to write a letter to the parole agent. That was in December of last year.
Sure.
When Eric started going off the reservation, excuse my language, and dealing marijuana outside of state, I said, that's it. That's it. He can defraud me and all that, and I'm pissed. But if he starts doing this marijuana thing, you're going to get caught up in this. They're going to say you're a part of it. No way, we need to report this. So we talked about it, and I wrote the email, with his input and everything, and we sent it to the parole agent.
Yeah.
We said confidential, and I explained how I was defrauded, and I explained that Eric was doing this marijuana business again, and we want nothing to do with it, and we need to report this. So that we have nothing to do with this. And this was pre-EDD. We didn't know anything about that.
Got it.
So I sent it off in December of last year. Nothing.
6 months later, this is what you heard.
What?
It said 6 months later that what you heard was him being arrested. Essentially, that was the response.
Yeah, but and I was happy actually, and I thought it was going to be about the marijuana thing. I figured they investigated that.
Sure.
Because he went to an ATM. They've got to have photographs of him. They've got the plane ticket to Missouri, round trip. So they could catch him dead to rights on that.
I'm sure they could.
But nothing happened. Instead, when he finally got arrested, it was this EDD thing. It was not even on our radar.
It wasn't on my. I don't think it was on. It apparently wasn't on anyone's radar because what you told me is you guys were, as we know, we were discussing. You guys were heading down here. You got parole transferred.
Right.
And you mentioned something to me. Maybe I misunderstood you, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But you think that the parole transfer took a bit longer because the parole people were maybe working with enforcement to nab him? Because you said when he got arrested, he was, where was he? He was about, you guys were about to come here.
Yeah, we had moved out of the apartment, cleaned everything up. I loaded my car and went first down to L.A.
Yeah.
And then he was going to follow, pulling the trailer with his truck. And we were just waiting for permission, to have the parole transfer approved. And so since we were already out of the apartment and we still didn't have the parole transfer approved, he went to a campsite and parked on the lake to row his canoe and wait. And that's when suddenly I got a call from the bail bondsman. I said, "Who is this?" The bail bondsman. I said, "Why are you calling me?" And then he says, "Oh, Michael, he's been arrested." And I said, "Okay."
Yeah.
So that's how that happened.
And how are you dealing with kind of this whole situation? And I'm sure there's trauma associated with it as well.
Oh, I'm so freaking living pissed. I'm pissed at everybody. I'm pissed at the cops. I'm pissed at Eric, but I've been pissed at him a long time, so that's not new. But I'm pissed at my husband. He's not guilty of this fraud, but he's guilty of being stupid.
Yeah, and it's also from talking with him and with the nonprofit, Live, Learn, and Prosper, when you're living a life of spirituality, I would call it recovery for the human condition and all of these things, it's kind of the antithesis of it is inviting chaos, fraud, and darkness into your life and into your home.
And everything we worked for so hard has just been so busted up. But I'm not going to quit. I mean, I spent 20 years as a mitigation specialist. I've learned so much. I've got so much knowledge and experience and compassion for, the people I've met. And I still want to do the work. So regardless of what happens to him, I'm going to continue. So if, and I think, okay, people might be skeptical, but you know what? If you read what I write and you hear what I say and it doesn't help you, stop listening. But if it helps you, then, maybe you should put aside your suspicions. Because it's, proof of the pudding is, does it help you or does it not?
Sure.
Yeah. And I mean, we'll see what, comes out in the wash here in the next week or so, and when this real
June 22nd is the court date, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But just, heads up is he's got a very, very good criminal defense attorney that wants to represent him.
So he might not go pro per.
I think the conversation is that he would be a standby attorney, but that could change. But this is somebody who you don't have to explain to him. He gets it.
Yeah.
And he very high profile, has won lots of really big cases.
Sure.
And he got somebody else interested in helping too, another high profile attorney. And they're very pro criminal justice reform and all that. And they see the political aspects to it that most people don't see. What's really the context of what is happening right now is that the conservative element is very angry at Newsom and people in general who have been more compassionate towards, people incarcerated. They don't like all the
lifers getting out?
Yeah, lifers getting out, less harsh sentences, more opportunity for parole, more money spent on programs instead of just on...
Yeah, they're not happy about that here in L.A.
Oh,
that's
my
for
God.
Sure.
And
they're recalling Newsom this November, so I'm sure Newsom, who
yeah.
personally signed off on getting him out, this is the last thing that he wants.
Right,
fair to say?
Exactly, and that's the poster boy for just lambasting, all lifers getting out and everything, and it is just so bogus. It's like the Marsy's Law debacle, where they got these terrible laws passed that prevented lifers from getting parole hearings on a timely basis because of the idea that a lifer killed Marcy. But that man was not on parole. So it had nothing to do with being on parole. He had a determinate sentence.
Sure.
He got out and he did this.
Well, I understand where you're going, what you're saying, but in closing and in wrapping up, just because we got
time
to get moving with time and everything, what's kind of your... I mean, I have an idea, but I'm going to ask you, what's your hope at the end of all of this and the resolution and how, you guys can...
Well, not on purpose, but I feel like the district attorney and the sheriffs have put so much attention on this and blown it up,
Sure.
that it can be used to reverse what they've been trying to do. You know, and if it can be shown that he's innocent, and it can be shown how corrupt this whole process was, and how they're using it for political purposes, I think it could help us. Because really, this is not just dangerous to Michael. Of course, that's my main concern. But it's dangerous to all of these lifers and all the people who have done their time and want a chance to heal and contribute to society. It's very harmful.
Of course.
So it has to be, I mean, that's the hope that I have, that something good can come of this, and that it actually can serve our purposes better than even if we had slogged hard for the next 10 years trying to get our voices heard.
Sure.
So that's my hope.
In closing, is there something you want to say to the people that feel hurt by these allegations against Michael?
Of course, you know, you feel hurt. I feel hurt. Michael feels hurt. But just bear in mind, I mean, and we should all be more sophisticated than to believe everything we read.
Of course, that's why we're doing this.
Right. So keep an open mind. It sounds really bad, but it's who's talking here? It's the sheriffs who arrested him. And they're not even saying these are allegations. They're saying it's the facts. So you always should be suspicious when law enforcement presents a situation that's not been proven like it has been. You know, they're not hearing the whole story. It's a lot more complicated than that. And you'll be hearing about it because it's going to all come out.
Yeah,
I hope it does.
Well, I'll be staying tuned. Thank you so much for coming out and for
Sure.
your time.
That's it for this episode. Thank you, guys.